And of course...
Dark Souls 3 is an action role-playing game set in a third-person perspective, similar to previous games in the series. According to lead director and series creator Hidetaka Miyazaki, the game's gameplay design closely follows on from Dark Souls 2. Throughout the game, players encounter different types of enemies, each with different behaviours. Some of them change their combat pattern during battles. New combat features are introduced in Dark Souls 3, including weapon arts, which are special abilities that vary from weapon to weapon that enable extra damage and unique movesets for a limited time, at the cost of magic points. Small gravestones are introduced. These gravestones light up when interacted with and not only serve as players' torches, but also provide additional lore to the game. The game puts more focus on role-playing, in which the character builder is expanded and weapons are improved to provide more tactical options to players. The game features fewer maps than its predecessor Dark Souls 2, but levels are interconnected and are made larger, which encourages exploration. The adaptability stat from Dark Souls 2 is removed from Dark Souls 3, and the game also features multiplayer elements like the previous games in the series. The small Canadian team of Spearhead Games, which created this game, may be making a game that sounds like a choose-your-own adventure, but the emphasis here is on adventure. In many ways, the Path of Destinies is an action RPG in the vein of Diablo. The camera hangs overhead in an isometric perspective, giving the bird's eye view of the gorgeous stylized environments and animation. Combat has a quick, immediate and strategic feeling as Reynardo leaps and dodges between multiple types of foes, prioritising his next target on the fly. His magical sword cleaves through them with a tangible sense of weight and heft. Stunning enemies leaves them open for a particularly brutal overhead smash that leaves nothing but a puddle of blood behind. In other words, this may be rendered like a Saturday morning cartoon, but its content reveals the game to be anything but child-friendly. Already out on PC and coming out for Xbox One shortly, The Park is a 2015 first-person psychological horror adventure game developed and published by Funcom. The game was released via Steam on October 27, 2015 and is a spin-off of an earlier Funcom game, The Secret World. The player can search the empty amusement park and read and/or pick up items like flyers, newspapers and management folders that give information on the park and its employees. Enter the mind of Lorraine, a woman facing every parent's worst nightmare, and unravel her story as well as the dark and tragic history of the park. Explore the island and step onto rides such as the Ferris wheel, the bumper cars and the roller coaster. But beware, some of them have a life of their own.
Love something and fear it at the same time.
Space. A wondrous realm full of adventure and peril and, bigness.
Ratchet and Clank blasts onto the PlayStation 4 for the first time, with a new game based on elements from the original Ratchet and Clank on the PS2. The PS4 version reimagines the characters' origin stories and modernises the original gameplay, featuring all new boss fights, several new planets, new flight sequences and much more, with completely new visuals constructed to take advantage of the power of the PS4. Produced alongside the major motion picture coming to theatres in 2016, oh my god no, Ratchet & Clank is a curated experience borrowing from the spirit of the classic PS2 titles while infusing some of the best elements from the Ratchet & Clank future games. Nintendo 3DS fans may remember the co-op beat-em-up Code of Princess from a few years back. Publisher Dejica has stepped up to bring the title over to PC and it will be launching on Steam. Much of the game's story, which is single player only, plays out in cutscenes and brief quests, where you'll battle enemies and take on bosses. These quests are more like limited arenas rather than the side-scrolling levels you find in most beat-em-up titles. Once you've cleared through a few quests on your own, you can play through any of the main story quests and bonus quests with friends online.
Peace, harmony, order? I deny your world and everything in it!
Bravely Second retains most of its gameplay systems of its predecessor Bravely Default, which I loved, such as the Brave and Default battle system and acquiring sleep points for the time-stopping Bravely Second ability. In place of Airy from the previous game is a new feature titled Ask Agnes, in which Agnes will assist the party as their navigation guide on the touchscreen of the menu. Some of the new additions to the gameplay is Consecutive Chance and My Set. The former will allow players chain multiple battles with each containing a greater increase in difficulty and rewards. The drawback, however, is that Brave points will not be restored between fights, so inadequate planning and recklessness will lead to early deaths. The My Set function will enable players to save their configurations for their jobs, equipment and abilities, reducing the time one spends in the menu. Bravely Second also retains the minigame of rebuilding a village on the touchscreen. The party will be tasked with rebuilding Magnolia's hometown on the moon. Like its predecessor, Bravely Second utilises a job system, featuring several new job classes in addition to the current ones. Asterisks are still being used as a catalyst for changing jobs. There are 30 jobs and over 300 abilities.
Here I go!
That's all we have time for this week. There are plenty of games coming out next week, so stay tuned. Goodbye.